Alright. Sitting by a big pile of evidence. Lovely, right? Well, I guess that's a pouch of tobacco. It's a pile of evidence. There's also a pile of evidence on the other side. So I called 988. That would be one of the numbers for suicide hotline. And it's not just for suicide, it's also for crisis. Now, what is it that all of the 988 previously wanted to do? Change the subject. Once the phone call was approaching 15 minutes, they wanted to get angry, irate, pissed off, sometimes even threatening, antagonistic. The lady tonight spent over an hour on the phone with me, and yes, I recorded the whole thing. The lady listened pretty well, better than any of the rest of them at 988. She also, instead of arguing over doing her job as a mandatory reporter, she apparently, while she put me on hold, she made several calls, and they're going to give me a call back today. So I got to try to force myself to sleep. Problem is, what do the police like to do when I try to turn them in? Trump up false charges and arrest me. And then I get told that I wasn't trying to get help. Anyway, this lady took the allegations seriously enough to call it in. Seriously enough not to spend the entire time trying to bully me into saying that I want to commit suicide. This is very common. It's also disgusting from 988 workers. So this lady, the reason that I'm making this video but not posting it up is because I'm tired. It takes forever to do that. I can do it when I wake up. But she did try to listen to some of what I was saying, which is good. I know that under those circumstances, it's kind of hard to even understand what I'm saying, especially if I get to stuttering. And I don't have any teeth, so that doesn't help or improve situations. Anyway, in the past, when I've called 988, they wanted to push the suicide narrative, and I'd tell them I'm not trying to harm myself or anyone else. I'm trying to turn in people who are harming me. Now, with the DA's office under scrutiny and the number of people that go into care being victimized by the people who work at care, small town, right? It's not a small town. It's a small city or a big town. It's about 4,000 people. So, since the mandatory reporters here in Tillamook don't want to do their jobs, they do the same thing as the 988 workers. But tonight, I got a hold of a 988 worker who at least appears to be taking it seriously. I just want to go to sleep. Maybe if I pull this all the way down over my head, I'll pass out making this video. Not likely, though. I have to worry about the finances that I literally can't fix. There's nothing that I can do to fix my financial situation without help. Without somebody recognizing that this abuse is ongoing because mandatory reporters will not do their jobs for a homeless man. In Chapel, Nebraska, they'd already screwed up before Natalie Bollinger was killed. In Boulder, Colorado, They already screwed up before Natalie was killed. In Broomfield, they screwed up. That's Adams County, where Natalie was shot in the head. Yeah, even Broomfield, I had to try to go through before Natalie was killed. And what happened? I was sent to mental health, who sent me around in circles and did not take the situation seriously. I have been through 9 years of abuse. 9 years of abuse that I cannot protect myself against. I'm not allowed to defend myself against. I have to just take it. Then I have police officers who want to tell me that the reason that I'm assaulted is because I spoke up about being assaulted. That if I hadn't said anything, then I wouldn't have been assaulted. Well, excuse me, I spoke up after the assault, stupid. And that's the situation with this lady at 988. She did, for once, somebody at 988 took it seriously. She also gave me a phone number for Pro Bono U.S. District Court, Tillamook, Oregon. So we'll call that number. Chances are pretty good that it's the courthouse. Chances are pretty good that the person they're going to get us in contact with is going to be the clerk of the courts for the, not the county court, the district court. That's more than likely who I'm going to end up getting stuck talking to. The number, I haven't called it yet. We'll have to find out tomorrow. Obviously, they're not going to be awake at this time of night. So tomorrow we'll find out if it's the same number that we've repeatedly had to call just to get run around in circles or get answering machines. If it's the courthouse, it's going to be a generalized answering machine that's just impossible to navigate. You know, if they spent just a tiny bit of money, so these individual places that we have to call, we could call them directly. It'd also be nice if they would, well, make it simple for those of you in houses. If somebody comes and assaults you on your property, you can turn it into the cops and the cops will listen. If a homeless person is assaulted on the street by a person in a house, the police will arrest the homeless person. I've seen 2 occasions where they arrested the right person. I've seen 2 occasions. Out of my entire life, I've only seen 2 occasions where somebody who lived in a house assaulted a homeless person and the person who lived in the house got arrested. In both of those cases, it was because I specifically spoke up in Boulder, Colorado. I also got to see one guy who was not homeless, who was riding a skateboard, get attacked by multiple homeless people. That guy got arrested, and he didn't do anything wrong. Those homeless people fucked him up. They didn't follow the law. They didn't care. These are homeless people. These are drug addicts. They don't give a shit about anything except for their drugs. Conceptually, sure, but the moment they start jonesing, they'll sell their own mother for a bump. And these are the people that I have to rely on. They're peer support workers at CARE. Same thing with the peer support workers that work through TFCC. Shay Darnell worked at both. She's also a witness to the situations at both. There are many witnesses to this situation. There are many former CARE workers who have told me time and again that the reason they're no longer working at CARE is because CARE is crooked. CARE does not care. You know, between Zane and Shay, you know, just those 2 should be enough. But then again, the whistleblower laws, that's something that myself and Deputy Moody spoke about. Yeah, there's whistleblower laws, but they're not followed. The same thing with that lady from TFCC. she refused to make a call to turn this stuff in because her words, she said, we already know that they're not going to investigate. Well, maybe you should turn that in. You ever think about maybe turning that in, or possibly, I don't know, turning that in? At least if you turn it in and they don't investigate, there's proof that they didn't investigate. There's proof that you turned it in. That at least covers your backside now, doesn't it? But when you don't, well, then you start committing felonies because you didn't do your job to begin with. You wanted to believe my predators. You wanted to pretend that because I said police had committed crimes against me, that you don't have to do your job. Well, it's not just police. The police refused to do anything about the abuse from the civilian population. Lovely. So, I just want to state that I am grateful that this lady exists. It is unfortunate that she is this glowing star in the middle of a giant cesspool. I've gone to literally, at this point, because of the number of calls that I've made, the number of times I've been bullied to move, the number of referrals to call other places, I've literally talked to thousands of mandatory reporters who all want to make some excuse why it's not their job. No, it is your job. Part of your paid job is the responsibility of a mandatory reporter. So I'm grateful for this lady. Hopefully it works out well. I'm going to end this video and upload it, and hopefully I can lay down without puking. I feel so sick right now. I mean, every time I have to try to turn these guys in, I know that all they have to do is lie, and they can lock me up, take away my rights, destroy my evidence, prevent me from paying my bills, which destroys evidence, destroy my property, like David Martinez, for example. Made sure that he lied when he arrested me. And then, of course, made sure that my vehicle, full of evidence of crimes committed by him and his deputies, was destroyed. While it was being vandalized down there at the Burgess Towing, I tried to turn it in. I had multiple people who told me that my car was still being vandalized in Burgess property. Multiple people. And did either of those people turn it in? No. Did either of them take a picture of it? No. Did either of those people who knew what was going on actually step forward and try to help with the situation? Debatable. You know, there's what you want to do, and there's the help that victims need. If you say that you're going to help a victim the way that the victim needs, good. If you don't follow through, not so good. When you drag somebody on for months, that's horrible. And of course, there's words that in the system are used correctly, but out here are used incorrectly. Like leading someone on. In the system, we understand that you can lead people on to a lot of different things. But you can't say that out here because automatically somebody believes that you were trying to have sex with somebody who was pretending they wanted to have sex with you and then they just didn't. That's not the reality of that word. That's not the reality of the situation. Yes, I'm making coffee. All right, we'll end this video and we'll post it up. Be safe, y'all. Let's hope something happens. See, all these mandatory reporters want to ignore the mandatory reporter laws and find little bits and pieces that they can pretend makes it okay to ignore the abuse. Well, it doesn't make it okay to ignore the abuse. These are credible accusations, backed up by evidence, that if I go in alone, they're not going to look at the evidence. You got to hear Russell in our conversations stating more than once that he'd already seen some of the evidence that I brought to him. Well, at least he verified that he has seen it. Now let's get on this. Natalie Bollinger would still be alive if mandatory reporters actually did their jobs for disabled homeless men. But they don't. All of America sees homeless people as animals, and those of you who claim that you don't see us as animals, well then why do you walk down the street and ignore the crimes committed against us? Why is it that when we need help, you don't want to hear it, you want to send us off to somebody else? If you're going to claim to be my friend, one of those friend things is to actually be a friend. When your friend is being harmed, do you help them to put a stop to that harm? Do you help them to put a stop to that violence and those threats? That's a friend. If your friend's not doing that, they're using you straight up. If your friend wants to talk about how they're too afraid, well, you can't be friends with a coward. Cowards are not friends. Cowards are not friendly people. Cowards are fake people who will pretend to be friendly, but in reality, they hold a lot of rage, and that rage comes from that fear. But unlike those cowards, I speak up. If you come to me and you say that you were harmed and you want my help turning it in, as long as you're turning it in with me, we can make that happen. If you need me to know things about the situation before we go in, because you're afraid that they're going to try to pull a trap on you by rewording everything that you say or pretending that a situation happened that didn't. If you want to show me the evidence of what really happened, when they start selling that narrative, I will interrupt them and tell them there is evidence. You do not get to play that. But I don't have anybody doing that for me. That's what I did in Colorado for years. And I didn't have to do that very often. I think maybe twice the whole time that I was there. But again, most of the victims who are homeless aren't coming forward because they're afraid of victimization by other homeless and the police. Once you become homeless, you are no longer a human being to the American people. You are a target. You are a mark. If you get disability money, yeah, you have to deal with junkies taking advantage of you for your disability money. Where is my money going? To running around all the services I'm supposed to go to who won't do anything. And then, of course, having to pay drug addicts for help because people in houses don't give a shit.